What about your phone? Did you let me?
What about $150 million?
It's a good deal.
194 pages.
But I didn't tell them.
That's right.
Call meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Okay, Mayor Minnie. Runderman.
Here.
Kill.
President.
Monahan.
Here.
Lancer. Here. Nelson.
Here.
And Jones.
Here.
Alright, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion for minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, and no bills submitted for payment. Almost there. Alright, we'll take a moment for public comments and public input on any non-agenda items. Hearing none. So, Al, I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce your last name correctly.
Today,
I saw you're here, but, we got you in the visitor section. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, city officials, for an opportunity for just a couple of minutes to say hello. I'm Al Devay. I work with NCDS based out of Atlanta, Georgia, National Community Development Services. I'm very pleased to be working with the Hartford community. Usually in a small town, I alter all the demographics. I usually double or triple the number of folks born in Asia that are in the general vicinity. I can't help it. I was born in Indonesia, raised in Holland, raised in California. It's weird. Served in the military, went to college in Massachusetts, worked throughout the United States, but it's wonderful to be here in Hartford, South Dakota. I've been with NCDS for 12 years, working on economic development and strategic planning in communities like New Orleans, Richmond, Virginia, Tacoma, where I worked on helping fund the University of Washington build a law school in Tacoma, but then also help with economic development in Tacoma. They had a $6.2 million initiative where they met their objectives. I've also worked in smaller markets like in Georgia and Montana, North Dakota, Tennessee, and South Dakota, Minnesota. We're here, NCDS is here to launch a 5-year productivity cycle for Hartford, to begin that first 5-year productivity cycle that is valued at $2 million or more, to help the community grow in which it is determined to grow, and well balance its population, its amenities, its job offerings, and so forth. I've met many of you at one of the leadership briefings that we've had, and if I've not had the opportunity to have a conversation with you about the leadership briefing, let's plan to do it sometime soon. 2 things we covered that are very important. One is the whole concept of fundraising and how that set of ideas catapults you to the top of where many communities in America are operating, and also to discuss the mechanics of how a campaign is conducted to achieve the success that as a community you want to achieve. So in having the leadership briefings, we learn the common language that leaders in the service, public sector, and manufacturing industries use throughout the country to propel success. Cultivations are at the heart of the process in which NCDS is very much involved, but first we must develop a detailed plan that is a consensus plan for everyone in the community, and we must evaluate how to best raise the $2+ million that are on our agenda. Look forward to working with the council, the foundation, Jesse, and all the stakeholders in this community, local as well as regional. And when the homework is done, we will come out of the planning phase and go public with the campaign, hopefully when we've achieved a good 66 to 70% of our raise. Thank you. I'm open to any questions or comments that council may have.
Since we last spoke, which I believe was October.
Yes, sir.
I had a guess, Mark, is that right, October?
Yeah.
Okay. you enlighten me on a lot of things on the marketing side of things. Does people in the upper Midwest, in your opinion, or this area, have a different theory or philosophy of marketing here versus other places in the country?
I would say that it's not different, and here's why. Is because when you want to market your community effectively around the country and actually globally, you are in conversation with others who do that kind of work. You work with national site location folks, you work with industries that need a place in the Midwest to land and call home. And so the language evolves to a level of understanding that is commonly understood, because companies that elect to locate here or somewhere else in the Midwest will have had conversations with everyone else in the Midwest about what the relative opportunities are. And if we are going to outbest other communities in the Midwest for what Hartford, South Dakota has to offer, then you're going to be talking about what others have to offer and how we size up competitively. And we can end up winning those kinds of conversations when we have the resources and the determination and the common platform from which we can make it happen. So I would say that if we're not consistent yet, we will become consistent with how communities throughout the Midwest compete for the global business. Does that answer your question, Scott?
Entirely, thank you.
Thank you.
You have your initial stakeholder meetings, those
Yes.
leadership meetings. Do you have meetings lined up every week, I guess, as far as your timeline goes?
We'll have them at everyone's convenience as soon as possible. So we'll work with Jesse to get the dates, places, and times, and we will continue as long as it's appropriate to continue to do so. And thank you for mentioning that. So there will be schedules coming out for leadership briefings, for strategic planning meetings, and also for there'll be some meetings to discuss who should be in our orbit in Sioux Falls and locally to have a conversation about an investment. So yes, it is about transparency, especially when it comes to opportunities to share ideas. Thank you for asking.
Any other questions for Al?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep, thank you. All right, we'll move to reports. Deputy Ryan, if we can have time share.
All right. We've had a couple things go on in the last 30 days. 66 traffic stops, 22 civil paper services, 2 family disputes, 8 juvenile delinquencies, 1 neighborhood dispute, 3 check beans, 1 DWI, only 1 snowbird. We haven't had much snow, I'm guessing. 2 hit and runs, those are motor vehicles, 3 narcotics calls, 6 animal problems, 7 medical calls, 5 disorderly subjects, 6 what we characterize as suspicious activity, 8 traffic accidents, 1 suicidal subject, 1 burglary alarm, 1 fire alarm. At the time of this report, we had 1 stolen vehicle. Yesterday we had 2, so that's a total of 3. We did recover 1 stolen vehicle, unrelated to the other 3. 3 motorist assists, 1 child custody dispute, 2 abandoned vehicles, 8 warrant service, and 1 manhunt. But you don't have one of those again?
Yeah.
That's the first time you see that, I believe. Yeah.
In Hartford, yeah,
Yeah.
down, yeah, so close to Sioux Falls, this stuff's gonna happen. So as far as the stolen vehicles, and they're both crimes of opportunity. Well, one of them was, a kid crashed his, I believe he crashed his car nearby on the east side of Hartford, and walked himself over to Myers Trucking, and was able to get inside of the vehicle and take it. The other one was at the coffee cup. We can't fix everything. This guy befriends a couple people on Book of Faces. And they get him drunk, and he goes to the coffee cup, he goes in to pay for gas, and they steal his car. He doesn't even know. Like I said, we can't face everything. The manhunt, you've probably all seen it on TV. I guess the only thing I can add is, I spend a fair amount of time in the industrial park, I guess not in the city, but there's a fair amount of nefarious activity that goes on down there, so I think in order to keep that out of the city, I fly the flag down there. I guess the good thing is, you know, when you paid for one officer and you got 25 of them that day, and no extra charge, so that's pretty good. And he was on Minnehaha County's most wanted, so it was good that we got him, and he is still in custody. Any questions? Not even one? Can't wait to like one question. How do I look so dashingly young?
Whoa, whoa.
One question, how many autographs have you had to sign since then? Because you did get a little time.
I know, but I didn't get to see it. So when you're in law enforcement or firefighting, when you get on TV, you don't get to sign signatures, you have to buy donuts.
No, it's expensive, huh?
It gets expensive. I love donuts.
Of course you do.
You can't play a donut joke on me, I love donuts.
I did hear overheard a little conversation this morning with Deputy Ryan and a couple of the other deputies talking about a new gun that shoots a cable or something to wrap up with somebody that runs away from you. So they want that.
They want one of those.
Yeah, they
I
want
think
one of
it's
those.
neat.
So,
I don't know if it's gonna pass, you know, muster or not, but
Yeah.
apparently it's totally old school. Well, kind of.
sounds like it's really cool.
So it kind of fires like a taser, yeah. It does that. Well, not quite, I don't have to do this. It's close, but it has some sort of propulsion system, like if someone's running away, two large ball bearings come out, it's got a cord wrapped around it, wraps around
Yeah.
them, wraps them up, and then,
That's not Batman or something, is it?
I don't know.
Batman, yeah. Batman.
Yes, that's where I'm pretty sure it's not came from, yeah. We'll see.
Anyway.
Awesome, thank you. Yep.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
Alright. Moving over to Mitch with the city engineer report.
I really don't have much to present. We've got 9th Street bidding tomorrow. It's at 2 o'clock. So looking forward to opening those bids. But other than that, it's fairly quiet.
Any rumblings on the bid?
I mean, we've got a lot of contractors looking at it, and so there's an interest. So we can get
Feels pretty good.
This is a good time to put a bid out too, the time of year, right?
Yeah.
Let's see Naps Landing plat reviews on there again. Does that change monthly or not?
You know, the Naps Landing, I can't remember exact, I think it was a plat review that we had, so they're platting their lots off in phases. And so, you know, they only do a couple lots at a time, so this is probably the 3rd or 4th plat that they've had out there.
Gotcha.
I think that's what that was.
Alright, any other questions from Mitch? Alright, thanks Mitch.
Yep.
Alright, Craig.
I have no updates on anything unless somebody's got something for me, or questions about the report.
Did you, remember the slurry seal bid with Sioux Falls again?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the 20th, is when that's opening up.
Gotcha, okay. Tell me, I kinda like to, it kinda got me curious, the recycled asphalt in the sewer,
That's-
how'd that happen?
When they were scare firing that road up there, I believe that they hit the manhole up there and dumped some debris in it, and
Okay.
we did have a sewer backup that was actually coming in through the manhole, and we hauled probably 10 loads out with our vac trailer, just to keep
Wow.
ahead of it, get it so it could.
Cause I never recall ever seeing that, has it happened before?
Not very often.
Okay.
This just built up and then it just started catching rags and stuff like that, those ones you can, flushable rags that don't really work very well.
Okay.
So a lot of them get flushed on there and it just builds up, and it just, luckily we didn't have any backups in any homes, so,
Good job.
Flushable but not degradable.
yeah.
Went out quickly.
And I just got Mitch the rest of the information on that, we are trying to turn it over to the contractor to pay for it, so.
I thought maybe that road was closed due to just poor condition. What
It
is
was slippery up there.
Yeah,
I tried to blade them. Yesterday I took the blade out and I did get, railroad straightened up pretty good, and then I tried to touch that one up there and froze too hard yet, so. But, yeah, it's gonna be a mess this spring, I'm afraid. It was pretty bad, pretty greasy up there, just
close it.
if it gets to that point, yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
Alright, thank you, Craig. Move to Karen's report, and we've got an action item under there for election workers also.
Should we have an election, I've contacted 4 gals that have agreed to sit on our board, so I just want a motion to appoint and approve them, that would be great.
Motion to approve election workers for 2020 as presented.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else on Karen's report, or anything new to add there?
Is it the time of the month, year, is one of those, where there's 4 weeks instead of 3, where we, had a December 2018, December 2019, $177,000 deficit in revenue, and a am I saying this correctly, the math, $627,000 increase in expenses. Kind of jumped off the page. Am I missing something? Is there?
I think we, had to do the end of the year, the supplemental appropriation, and we knew we had to transfer funds from our general and our water and our other account to the special projects, the Mickelson Road and the 9th Street. So the bulk
That's
of it,
what it
I
is.
assume that's what it is.
Okay, it obviously is.
Because in December, those transfers would have took place, because we approved that supplemental appropriation.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is only showing the general fund, of course.
Yeah, and that's just.
Right, right.
And so we lost money out of there going to the other ones.
That's what you've been preaching this, Teresa. I mean,
I've been telling you.
Yeah, you've been telling us this is
We
coming.
need to pay that out of the general, pay this.
Yeah, okay. Also, good to see that year to date, we seem to be fine as far as revenue and expenses, so kind of covered itself up.
Alright, anything else for Karen? Alright, perfect, thanks Karen.
Sure.
Yeah, we move to Teresa's report.
Just basically the biggest thing I want to point out, just to remind you that District 9 meetings are coming up. The district meetings, every district in the state holds this annual meeting. This year, it's going to be March 19th in Vermillion. And basically, for those that have gone before, it's a dinner you go to. There's fellow constituents there, fellow city council, mayors, staff employees. You have the dinner, little presentation. The biggest thing that I kind of like about it is that you get an update of what's passed through the Senate or, the legislation this year that would affect a municipality. So you kind of get that update of what changes are coming and what you need to kind of be on top of. So it's a good evening. Like I said, it's March 19th. We do need to know by March 5th if you plan to go. So either let me or Karen know if you'd like to go to that, and we can get you registered.
Okay, that looks good, are you planning on?
Yep, I plan to
Yep.
attend.
Okay,
So.
I'll take a look. Alright, looks good, any questions for Teresa? New business, we've got review the proposal for the field scheduling maintenance in 2020. Teresa's got this in the packet. And you guys met a little bit on this and talked about this not that long ago, so.
Yeah, so just a little background. So last week, me and Rhonda met with both representatives from Softball Association and then Matt Evans, kind of with the soccer. We kind of wanted to sit down to figure out how we're going to handle the field scheduling and the maintenance and whatnot, since we're short, to have a recreation director at this point. So, kind of put a summary of that proposal in your packet for you to review. BJ Olson's here on behalf of softball to kind of go through that with you. Basically, they've made some changes to the structure of their association pretty much, where it looks like they will be bringing a lot more teams, a lot more opportunities here to Hartford, so more games will be played. They basically asked that with this change, all the games are gonna be done in Brandon, it sounds like in Hartford here, correct? So they will be tying up the big fields every Wednesday night through the season, so the 2 at the sports complex and the 2, in the park. In exchange for, bringing in those additional games and tournaments or whatever, they have agreed to take over the scheduling, just because they're gonna be using a lot of the fields, the majority. And we sat down and talked about, they've offered to, they will definitely, their public fields, they will also schedule for the recreation teams, the church teams and whatnot, but they'll handle that through requests through them, which we think is great, because it takes a load off our office here to do that, so we don't have any problem with that. So they do that scheduling, that would be great. The maintenance, we talked a little bit about that, that's in the proposal too. They've asked that the city, drag every diamond, each day. We were already doing that in the past, so that's no change, we continue to do that. The biggest thing is though, is when they do have tournaments here, and that if they do need maintenance, like in between games, if they need to be drugged or watered, who's gonna do that, what's that gonna look like? We did pass a rental agreement last year, if you remember, with Nate, that when tournaments come in, they have to sign that, and basically they can pay for a certain cost for no maintenance, or a cost to have a city worker there and do it. Biggest question is kind of when they pay for the no maintenance, softball association's wondering if they could utilize the city equipment to do that for them, So I did check with our insurance company regarding that. I just heard back this afternoon, and that's that email that was on your desk there to say, okay, is this even gonna, can we do this through our insurance? Will our insurance cover this and whatnot? Basically, me reading through the lines of the email, we do have that rental agreement, which has, clauses in there as far as, having to have insurance and liability. They basically recommend, get that signed, but then if we do want to allow them to use our equipment, they do need to sign probably then like a hold harmless or agreement that would take the liability off the city, and they'll realize that if any injuries or any equipment damages happen, they'd be liable for. So that's kind of what's come down. So I guess the thing council's gotta think about is if you do wanna allow this, or if you wanna still have it where, if they do wanna do in between maintenance of games, a city worker would have to be there. So, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I mean, that's really it in a nutshell. I mean, we're just trying to take as much work off your guys' plate now as possible since Nate isn't here. And our plan is to have those fields pretty happening this spring and summer. So to not put any more burden on the city for keeping up with additional maintenance for doing it, basically we just want them to do what they've been doing in the past. But if we could have access to some equipment when there's a need for it to keep things spruced up. The one compliment we've got, and probably the reason why we've been able to attract so many more people wanting to come to Hartford and play softball, has been because of our field maintenance. Our fields, especially up north, are some of the best fields that people play on, and it's noticed. So.
When, and maybe you've got it laid down in here, but I don't necessarily see it in detail. As far as the number of people that would have access to it, if we talked about maybe just having some sort of list or limit to that, and then when and how would we control that access so that, somebody's got a key forever and then they decide on Saturday night it's a good idea to go do something with it.
Right. Our thought process would limit it to like our association, and then potentially the head, the UIC umpire in charge. But what our thought process process would be like, would be the same thing as we do at the complex and at the one in town with a code, a lock, and we change it every year. So the access to the equipment is changed every year.
Okay.
So, could do the same thing.
We need a motion on
Any
this?
thoughts on any of that, Craig, and what we got out there and what's going on there?
No, as long as everything's covered and that for insurance reasons, stuff like that, I don't have a problem with it, so. You know, we're looking at purchasing a three-wheeler, so we'd actually have a piece of equipment back here, and a piece of equipment up there to drag the fields with, which that way they wouldn't have to be leaving the complex or anything like that with it, so.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, is that actually, I remember looking and seeing it, and is that actually gonna happen per se? I mean, I was wondering.
Get budget money for it, so.
I would advise him to do that.
If Craig's got budget money for it, it'll.
Yeah.
He'll spend it, he'll spend
Yeah, it'll happen.
it. He's got money, buddy, he'll spend it.
It sounds good. I mean, that makes a lot of sense
I don't know that he's ever budgeted for anything he hasn't bought.
anyways.
I don't think so. It's been a struggle getting stuff sometimes.
What all equipment does this pertain to?
Basically, we'd just be looking at something to drag the fields with. I mean, right now,
Just
we're,
a drag and a four-wheeler?
yeah, right now, we're using somebody's lawnmower, or somebody's golf cart, or just miscellaneous whatever. We got some, hand drags this year too, so we use good old horsepower, but it's a lot easier sometimes, especially early on in the season when the ground's really, really hard. It has to be done with some sort
Very
of
true.
power vehicle.
So this email, do you guys typically carry liability insurance for events?
So yes, through our association and through the teams that play under our association, they all have insurance through the softball association.
So who would be signing the waivers? Would everybody sign the waiver?
I would imagine just the ones that would be authorized to utilize the equipment.
The only thing I'm getting at is whoever signs the waiver that would be authorized to use the equipment would also be the ones that would have to be insured.
Sure.
Because it wouldn't do any good to have some people insured, but they're not the people using the equipment. So. I don't really care about a drag, but a four-wheeler. We'd have to have hold harmless agreement on a four-wheeler plus insurance, so.
Well, I wonder if we can just do the waiver, written out as the Hartford Softball Association, and so then either the president or whatnot would sign on that behalf, and that basically, so then any member that uses that will be held to it. Would it work that way?
Yeah, however, we're covered.
Yeah, 'cause if we can draft a waiver, like I said, in the association's name, that basically, states that any liability, would fall on them, it should then cover any member they have using it, I would think.
I remember when I was a coach, what's the protocol for practices? That was always those games are pretty easy, they were scheduled, but what's your protocol for getting practices in for all the groups?
As far as the field maintenance or for scheduling?
No, not maintenance, just scheduling.
Yeah, so as far as getting the practices in, we guarantee everybody at least one practice per week, but because of our field availability, we've been able to give everybody 2 practices per week. But then it's kind of a first come, first serve, and we start with the older groups and work our way down. 'Cause
So
usually
there's no sign-up sheet in the shack anywhere that, has a slot on July 21st at 5 PM, you just go, that's the way we used to do it,
So Nate did put boards up at both facilities this year after the schedule was made out, stating who had what what practice times or game times or what times were open. But other than that, they were all pre-scheduled.
So there's something visible so that suddenly a coach, 5 coaches go practice at the same time, which has happened before, and suddenly you're, hitting ground balls in the parking lot.
So this would all be done ahead of time so that wouldn't be able to happen.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's either going to be, and at that point, if there's an open slot, then it's first come, first serve.
Okay.
So, one of the things that we are exploring too, if we are given the opportunity to take over scheduling, is utilizing an app. So we have a program that we use for scheduling tournaments that has an application that goes out so that you can see when you play. There are also capabilities of utilizing this app to schedule practice times, and then also to allow our teams to communicate with their parents and coaches to let them know when and where practices are. So the other benefit of us being able to manage the schedule is we can utilize the same technology that the people are already using for tournaments to do local schedules so that there's less confusion of who has the facilities. Where right now I think it was just being posted either up at the facilities or on the city website, but I think more people would be apt to go to an app than to the city website.
Swear word, Jesse.
It's crazy. All right, any other questions on the 2020 scheduling plan?
And then just kind of go with that, just soccer, when we met with Matt Evans for the soccer, he would still like, the bulk of it to be handled through the city. He'd like us to take the, basically the applications of when they would like the field times. And then he said he would come and help sit down with Rhonda and divvy up what fields could go to what, teams. So he'll kind of help with that. We'll gather the information and it'll help us schedule the fields. So it'll be a little bit easier, so, yep.
Do you need a motion just for this scheduling plan? Does that cover what we're allowing them to do as far as, or what you need them to do?
I'd like a motion to approve the scheduling plan, so, we can turn that over to softball. And then I'd like another motion, if you guys are okay with them signing a waiver for the softball to use the equipment, another motion for that, and then we'll get a waiver drafted up.
Okay. Looks good.
I'd make a motion to approve the 2020 scheduling plan for softball and soccer, or,
Yep.
and soccer?
Second.
All right, discussion. None, vote. Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Lanzer?
Yes.
And Nelson.
Yes.
All right. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion that we draft a waiver for the Hartford Softball Association to be able to use the city maintenance equipment specifically for dragging the fields.
Second.
Discussion.
I think I know what you said, and I want to make sure we're clear about, that it stays, with the equipment is just for dragging the field too,
Yes,
because we don't want them to start hauling stuff in and out. with the
Correct.
four-wheelers.
specifically for dragging the fields. Is that all right, Teresa? You on that?
As long as we're all on the same understanding, yep.
All right. We'll vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Lanzer?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
That looks good, and you are also up next, BJ, on the sports complex sponsorship.
Yes, so last week I met with a gentleman from Great Plains Sponsorships. He had seen one of the posts that we had put on in regards to the sports complex that had just been created down in Waukee, Iowa. And he had reached out to me based on that post. And he is interested in, or his company basically helps secure donations. They do fundraising, they help secure sponsorships for funding large projects. So he wanted to sit down and talk with us about potentially putting together a plan for some big sponsorships to fund the rest of the sports complex. So I sat down with him and listened to what he had to say, understood what their funding structures look like, and basically what I'm here today is to ask to potentially, well, to earmark up to $40,000 pending a vote by the sports complex committee to be able to use our funds to pay for a third-party sponsorship company to come in and help raise raise funds for the completion of the complex.
Jesse, don't we have a individual that lives here in town who does that exact kind of work?
This is the same company, that person's
It is the same.
moved
He
to
did.
Omaha.
I'll be there. Okay.
Yep, same
So
company.
it's the same guy that I met 2 years ago. Scott, was it?
Ryan?
Ryan.
Yep.
Long time ago.
Yeah, he moved shortly after Jesse and I met with him to discuss raising funds for the sports complex
Really?
in July last year.
You know, it was last year, okay.
Okay, so what funds do you have available right now?
From what I understand, there's,
I was just looking that up. They have, just under 127,000 in the sports complex fund.
What type of return on investment does Ryan say he can give you and how?
well, and that's the part that we are going to figure out. He's gonna be coming to our meeting on Sunday and sitting down and getting a presentation for us. But the way I looked at it before we even went down that whole rat hole with him, I wanted to make sure that this was something that was even doable with you guys. Just for the simple fact that we do have a ton of things happening right now with softball and the sports complex and whatever, and our time's pretty valuable. So if this is something that we can do, I think it's a great opportunity, given all the traction that we have going forward to help with raising funds out there. But if it's something that we can't do, we could definitely be using our time for something else.
As you well know, BJ, there's a pretty good chunk of land there too, on the east side of there. Is that gonna be kind of your primary focus with that, or, I mean, I know you can't speak for the committee, but I mean, I'm just trying to wrap around my mind around where these funds are gonna go, if he in fact comes up with $250,000.
Right, and I mean, everything, like timing's everything. I think right now is a great time, because earlier, prior to this meeting, we sat down with Stockholm and we started going over some of the plans, and we're gonna revise some of the fields and some of the overall needs, and we're gonna get an updated pricing on what the project's actually going to cost us. And then with having that goal in mind, we can utilize this company to set a plan in motion to where if this thing costs us $2 million, if it costs us $3 million, well, now we can set a plan in motion with this company hired to do this specifically. I think the biggest problem that we've had over this entire period with the complex is we have a bunch of volunteer committees trying to figure out how to, construct and put together and fund a multi-million-dollar project, and no one has enough time to do all of that. And talking to this company, I mean, from what I've understood, they've done a lot of work in Sioux Falls with the Midco Aquatic Center. They got that funded. They've done a lot of work with Sanford to get some of the different projects out there funded as well. The other thing that we had spoke of is, we have this beautiful complex that's coming out. I know that we're doing a ton with economic development too. I mean, it might be a good time to be raising funds out there, because there might be somebody that generates funds for a complex and then decides to, well, heck, if I'm sponsoring a complex, maybe I should move a business here as well. So there, there's a lot of benefits to being able to tie in. But again, I just wanted to come up here and knowing what some of his fee structures are, he could be looking at as much as $10,000 per quarter to hold him on retainer to do all this. So that's why I was looking for $40,000, or up to $40,000 should we be able to move forward with this
As a committee.
as a committee. Yeah, but again, that's something that we have to vote on, because it's not even approved by us. But I just, instead of us going down this rat hole and wasting a whole month talking about it,
Appreciate it.
we'd come here first.
That's very proactive of you, and I appreciate it, yeah.
Here's my thought right now. He's coming down on Sunday?
On Sunday, yes.
Okay. And at your normal meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to come over there and listen to that. The only concern I have about jumping in with both feet right now is, well, there could be several concerns, but we've got the HADF starting a very similar campaign right now, and I would imagine a lot of those donors are gonna overlap. And there may be, if this campaign were to kick off right away and he saw the feasibility in it working, that that there could be confusion between two different campaigns or two campaigns running back to back, where somebody just got hit and it ends up affecting your campaign negatively because you're, a few months behind it or whatever it is. So timing is really the spot where I wonder. But I
also
still
an
want-
opportunist, and I look at, there's a lot of people out there that might give money to one thing, that wouldn't give money to another. And if somebody turns us down on, the economic development thing, they might say, oh, but a sports complex is perfect. So I look at it the other way.
I'm a compliment.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to do them both, and it also shows that we're willing to invest a ton into our community, because we're doing two of these major projects at one time.
So, he's coming in on Sunday to attend your meeting. So who's had to sit down with him so far, just you?
Myself, Eric Kunzweiler, and Matt Kramer.
And is Sunday's meeting gonna be more informational as to what they provide, or?
I've asked him to kind of put together a specific plan or agenda as far as how he's going to be able to help us with our overall needs. When he came to us last Sunday, it was more showcasing some of the projects that they've worked on. They right now are working on an ice rink in Brandon. They've also done some funding for the softball complex in Brandon that was just finished up 2 years ago. So he showed us a lot of the things that they've already done. But now he's gonna come to the table with a more specific project plan just for us.
So when they, let's just take the softball fields in Brandon. So when they secure funding or quote unquote sponsorship, what does that look like? What does the sponsor get for their sponsorship dollar?
So that's what these guys help us put together a plan, right? Different naming rights of fields or outhouse, or not outhouse, but the concession sponsorships or whatever, parking lots. I mean, these guys are gonna help us come up with a plan based on the overall scope of the cost, on what we're gonna need to raise and what our best options are for selling naming rights to portions of the complex. And then the other thing he laid out too that this company does for us then is they are the ones that put together the contracts. They collect the money, they do it all, so that nobody from the city or from our committee has to chase the dollars or put together the contracts for the money that we receive.
So when they secure the dollars, those dollars are then funneled to the nonprofit, or those dollars are funneled to the city?
We haven't got that far yet.
It probably depends on who brings them on contract. But it's.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, so,
My initial gut feeling is that I want you guys to have your meeting with them on Sunday and then we readdress it. That's what my gut tells me. Just because it's more information, but.
And my concern of it might be addressed by him, because he's gonna have an opinion on, yep, these are good compliments to each other, let's do it, or, hey, no, in my experience, this is what I've seen and this is what we do.
And I'd also like his opinion on, I mean, say somebody sponsors $500,000. I'd like to know what that looks like on the property. Cause I have no idea what a $500,000 sponsorship, I don't know what somebody would expect for that.
Oh, sure, as far as.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a gate at the entryway, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and from some of the different projects that he's shown and the different scales, I mean, people have paid $100,000 for a single brick in a wall. They've also paid $100,000 for, their name across the entire outfield.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing, that it gives us the ability to control that. And one of the other things that I told him too that was important to us, because he was throwing some big numbers out based on the potential figures that it would take to get this done here, is that we would also like to reserve a section, if this whole thing was able to go forward, reserve a section of the complex to be just for local supporters. So, I think the biggest thing is these guys are going to help us establish a plan that we've never had in place before. I know the plan has been asked by the council a number of times, and we've come, but again, no one does this for a full-time job, so it's really hard to stay on top of and to think all of the loopholes, where it'd be so much easier for us to have the professionals do it. And again, I'm not asking to spend any money by any means. I'm just pending an approval from our group. Is this something that the council would even entertain us spending our money on?
Is there a chance that Ryan could, if approved, all the way across the board, readdress the council at some point?
Absolutely, and actually they asked to come here tonight, and I said I might be again putting the cart before the horse, because you guys might say, no, this is, we have no intentions of spending, city funds on something like this. And I didn't want to, again, I don't want to waste your time or my time or our group's time with something that isn't going to happen. So understanding that there is a mild interest, that I think that it would be a great opportunity then, is to maybe have him on the next agenda, if, to your point, everything gets approved going forward.
Since we don't need a motion now, I'll endorse that.
Yeah, I think unless anybody has strong opinions the other way, I feel like the feeling you're getting is that I wanna be there Sunday night, I wanna hear what he has to say, I wanna get a feel for what that is, and, but I don't think you're getting a strong no or a strong yes across the board.
Yeah,
That's
and
kind of
all I wanted is that you guys would entertain. Again, not looking for a yes, but what I was more looking for is if you gave me a no, I wasn't gonna waste my time. So I was more looking for the no.
Is this the only company that you guys have looked at, or have you entertained multiple other ones?
Right, and that's the other thing, this is the only one, because again, if you were gonna say no on this one, there was no sense in me wasting my time searching at five other more. But that's why I said up to $40,000, given this guy might come in at, whatever. I want, and again, I wanna, if there are other companies out there, which I'm sure there has to be other companies out there that do that, I think it would do us an injustice not to look, what other people can provide us.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but like I said, my two biggest concerns are, where does the money flow from them, whether it flows to the nonprofit or whether it flows to the city, and what that sponsorship would look like out there.
Sure.
So,
And I think those are all questions that they would be able to at least address for us or put together.
Well, you're right, BJ, we have said several times to this group, we need you guys to give us some ideas and plans how you're gonna pay for this deal. I'm enthused that we're at that point now where we're taking some steps.
Well,
Because we've been asking this for a long time.
and the reason why I think timeliness is so important is right now, our Hartford Area Softball Association this year has broke away from the True Empire Softball Association, so we are no longer playing under SEPSA. We are now playing under our own softball umbrella that we've partnered now with Brandon and T to create our own leagues. So there will be teams from, the only play sites will be Brandon, T, and Hartford, but there will be teams from all over the place. And we have the opportunity, or we will be hosting the end of the year tournament. We've also had interest from some 14U competitive teams wanting to host their own league here in Hartford too, because they came out last year to our Jamboree tournaments, and like these fields are some of the best fields that we played on. So I mean, a lot of great things are happening for us right now, and part of the reason why we wanted to do the scheduling is because we really believe that we can keep those fields full almost every night through July. And all the more important reason why we continue to build on what we have up there already. Because I do think we're going in the right direction and we have a lot of momentum. So again, that timing is everything. Awesome. Well, thank you, and I look forward to you guys coming up on Sunday night if you can make it.
perfect, 7 o'clock.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
With that said, who wants to go to the next town special meeting if there's more than 4?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, if you're planning on going, let Teresa know?
Friday, let me know by Friday.
Blue 42, 7 o'clock on Sunday. Right,
I'm
thanks,
gonna
guys.
plan on being there.
Okay.
So, alright, thank you. Sounds good.
Talk appointments or liaisons to that group or not?
If you would like to, you sure can. I don't have anything on the agenda, so.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've kind of been a liaison to that group and given some other things that are going on in the community, that position will be open. I'm not gonna go to the meeting on Sunday and don't need to delegate any more time to that group. I think they're moving in the right direction now. And I'm gonna back away.
And I would say the same. I think it's time that we have maybe a couple different council members act as liaisons to that group. I think Travis and I have got them to a point, and maybe it's time. Is that a good way to say that?
That's as great as you can say it.
Enough's enough, is what you're saying.
No, we're not saying that,
Okay.
but I think we've taken
You're doing a
them,
good job.
I think we've taken them to a point far enough, maybe it's time for somebody else from council to get a different set of eyes on there.
This has been nudged, it's been planted, these seeds have been planted, now this is their idea, they wanna run with it. Perfect.
You got him there.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that, but
well,
saying something finally landed.
Right. Yeah, and I think, no, I appreciate all the work you guys have done on that, because it, you put a ton of hours and a ton of time in with that group, and it's taken a lot to do that.
Yeah, it's a whale.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So no, thank you very, very much on that. I appreciate all the time you guys have worked on that.
Yeah, it's
And
been fun.
I think it is in a lot better place than
Look forward to
where
seeing
it
that.
was.
in
And
2 years.
as far as looking forward on that, and we first wanna see where we're gonna end up on this, on the park board. And see what kind of direction we need to go, if we need liaisons in certain areas or not, so.
So, yeah, sounds good. Good timing.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Next up, we got set 2020 equalization meeting date. I think we're looking at the week of March 15th. Do we typically go on, is there a planning and zoning meeting that week? Is there?
There's a planned zoning meeting, so I would recommend either, like I put in my report, either Monday or Wednesday would work best. I wanna give Karen at least a couple days to do the minutes and stuff, cause that has to be back to the county by Friday, so I don't wanna set it too late in the week.
Don't wanna go Thursday.
Yeah,
That'd be the 18th of March, is that what you're thinking?
16th or 18th, yep.
I'm gonna suggest the 18th, if that's okay.
Hang on a minute. Can't even find my calendar now, whatever that was. Oh, there it is. What date, March what?
18.
18?
It'd be, yeah, Wednesday the 18th.
7?
You can set for whatever time you want.
Well, it's gonna take me too long to figure out if I got that day off or not, or whether that's my long day or my really long day, so. As long as it's 7 o'clock and everything doesn't go upside down, I should be able to make it.
Well, the last equalization, we had one person, right?
March 18th.
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah.
they're not as long as they used to be, Mark.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yep.
I make a motion, we set the equalization, 2020 equalization board meeting for Wednesday, March 18th, 7 o'clock.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good deal. Must be any of you here. All right. Next item on there is authorization for me to sign the annexation agreement. on
So
behalf of the
moved.
city.
Second.
Discussion? Not will vote. Keel?
Yes.
Cleansing? Nelson?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yep.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Alright, we got a review approved the purchase agreement for lot 138, block 4 right here downtown. Any questions on that?
thought we said 92. Did we?
Yes, you did.
Honest?
You did.
I think it's 92. I read that today. And I thought, man, must be.
So this was drafted by the city attorney, and it, yeah, has in there the 95,000 price we agreed upon. And, we're splitting all the closing costs. It's contingent on the environmental coming back, like we talked about, and then getting clean title to it, so it's kind of basic agreement for that. Jesse did send this on to the manager in the co-op, he looked it over and looked good to him, so if we pass it, we can let their board pass it and continue to move forward with this.
And if the environmental comes back negative,
It'll be-
contract is null and void.
Right.
It won't be void, it'll be, the city will review the study first, and then a decision we need to execute or not execute.
Yeah, we can decide that.
So you need a motion.
Mhm.
Motion to approve purchase agreement for lots 1 through 8 as written.
Second.
Discussion.
Sure, we can't change it.
Nope, we're gonna vote. Monahan?
No.
Jones?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
Keel?
Yes.
Kleiser?
Yes.
And Nelson?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we got review approved seasonal job descriptions and pay scale. Do that down here?
So these are all of our summer part-time positions for the pool, park rec program, and for our public works department. Basically, they have stayed the same, we've just made a couple of small changes. The ones change we've made with the pool is that the pool manager and assistant manager no longer required to take that management course, online management course. We decided that last year to get rid of that, so that was taken off the job description. And then the other change we made was to the assistant public works. We had where the minimum age was 16 on it. After talking with Craig and going through what things a 16-year-old can do for the city and what they can't do for the city, we changed that to 17 because we really had some issues with them not being able to run equipment, drive vehicles. I mean, we were hauling them, their staff was hauling kids from this park to that park, and it's just, it got to be cumbersome. So we were hoping maybe we can just keep that to 17, then they could do a lot more items for the city.
I'll make a motion to approve all the seasonal job description and pay scales with the changes mentioned as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Vote. Keel?
Yes.
Kleiser?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, last item. New business, approve application for Sioux Falls landfill passes for the move clean and pay for the stage.
Make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Discussion. Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything for correspondence? If not, we're looking for a motion to go into executive session for personnel and.
So moved. Second.
Like the timing.
So you got Monahan making it?
Yeah,
And then
Monahan.
Jones.
Second.
Yep.
It don't matter, we can share.
Get along.
Arden won't remember in 2 weeks who did what anyway.
Wow.
Sorry about that. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.